Travis Wingate. So, I just woke up in my dreams. I had skipped ahead into the future, such that all the things that had happened in the past had no longer happened. And I came across a guy who was trying to find somebody who could fix his piece of wood that needed some work on it. It's difficult to describe it, but that's not the point of this video. And I stepped in and said, I know of the perfect guy, because it was the guy who had done the job previously. And strangely enough, he had a bed right across from his office desk. and so I was saying, I'll get a hold of him, I'll get him in touch with you. He's perfect for the job. And tried to find my old computer with his number on it, and it was mixed up in a whole bunch of other old computers, and there was a woman working on one of the computers, and she was trying to point it out, but it wasn't it. And so I went back over to where his bed was, back to the office as well. I guess that was weird, but trying to sort through some papers and stuff to find his number, and a sister or another woman, because she didn't look like my sisters. I found a business card of some other guy with his business number, and apparently he's the boss of a coworker who's the friend. And so I'm trying to punch in the number, and Anyway, waking up, I realized that I can still save Mormons. I know you don't want to be saved. I know you don't want to listen to me. But if you knew what I knew, you would understand the urgency. So I am going to start you from the beginning. We are going to do a rescue operation here. We are going to have to reprogram you, your whole thinking process, and we're going to do it with the Book of Mormon, which is what should have done it for you in the first place, had you been taught correctly. Alma, chapter 32, starting in verse 28. Now we will compare the Word. The Word is spoken, it is written, it is in your head, the still small voice, as it was originally called. You can call it the spiritual witness, if we're going to do the Ammon and the Lamanite king, who thought that Ammon was the Great Spirit, and then Ammon said, no, I'm not the Great Spirit, but he tried to use the incorrect information of a spiritual God into the physical reality for him. This is what I'm doing. Spiritual witness is that spiritual God of that Lamanite king. And so I've got to get you back into physical reality. A seed is a vegetation. All vegetation is through the seed. This is the science of agriculture, vegetation. And it teaches the principle of coming to know truth in the real world. Taking the spiritual witness and turning it into the real world reality, the physical knowledge. just like a seed-bearing fruit. You've got to plant the seed in your heart. So the word then has to be believed. And we know this because if you do not cast it out by your unbelief, unbelief is the contrary to belief. So you need to believe the word. Now this seems scary when you don't know what the word will result in. And there are a lot of false words out there. You guys think I'm the false word. And so that you would resist the Spirit of the Lord, but you don't know it's the Spirit of the Lord yet. It will begin to swell within your breasts. That's the warm, fuzzy feeling. When you feel these swelling motions, you will begin to say within yourself, it must needs be this is a good seed, or that the word is good. For it beginneth to enlarge my soul, and it beginneth to enlighten my understanding. So this is just the initial planting stage. You've read, pondered, prayed. You've now got a spiritual witness. You think you now know that it's true. You think it's enlightening your mind. And it beginneth to be delicious, but you don't have the fruit yet. Now behold, would not this increase your faith? Say unto you, yes. Faith is not knowledge. So yes, faith grows. Nevertheless, it is not grown up to a perfect knowledge. But behold, as the seed swelleth, sprouteth, and beginneth to grow, you must needs say that this seed is good, for it swelleth, sprouteth, beginneth to grow. Will this not strengthen your faith? Yes, it will strengthen your faith. You will say that it is a good seed because it sprouteth and beginneth to grow. Are ye sure that this is a good seed? I say unto you, yea, for every seed bringeth forth unto its likeness. Do you understand this part? An apple seed produces apples. An orange seed produces orange. A raspberry seed produces raspberries. A potato bulb produces potatoes. Carrot seeds produce carrots. Okay? Every seed bringeth forth unto its likeness. So truth will be manifested in the flesh, letting you know it's true, letting you know it's good and right, versus false and bad and harmful. If it doesn't grow, it is not good. If you do not see something happening to it within a period of time, you have to throw it away. You can't keep holding on to it in your belief system. If it's not producing the desired results, it's not sprouting, it's not enlightening you, throw it out. It's false. You have to first believe it. You can't just say, nope, not true, throw it away. You must believe first. And when it doesn't produce anything, throw it away. We're not done yet. There are falsehoods that will trick you into thinking it's good and true. These you have to wait until the fruit. See, this, you've tried the experiment, you've planted the seed, it swelled and sprouteth, beginneth to grow, and so you know, well, you know it's good, it's growing. It's not a dead seed. Now, Behold, is your knowledge perfect? Yea, your knowledge is perfect, that it's sprouted and it is a good seed that's working and it's growing. And your faith is dormant because you know that it's sprouted and it's a good seed. Okay. Oh, then is this not real? So this is the difference between a spiritual witness and the physical reality. You see in the physical realm the sprouting of the seed that had been buried in the soil. That's real. A spiritual witness doesn't seem real. You don't know if it's real or not because it hasn't sprouted. It is light. Whatsoever is light is good, because it discerns must be good. After you have tasted this light, is your knowledge perfect? Behold, I say unto you, no. Neither must you lay aside your faith. You haven't finished yet. You have only exercised your faith to plant the seed, that you might try the experiment to know if the seed was good. That's it. That's all. As the tree beginneth to grow. So you're starting to see what the end result's supposed to be for a seed, which we're likening unto a word. You have to keep going. You have to keep taking care of it. Nourish it with care, that it may get root, that it may grow, bring forth fruit. That's the end result, is the fruit. If you neglect that growth, if you say, I've got a spiritual feeling, I'm done, you've neglected the growth of the tree into the physical reality. And you are taking no thought for its nourishment. It will not get root. When the heat of the sun comes, it scorcheth it, because it hath no root. It withers away, and you pluck it up and cast it out. So it's not that it was bad, it was just you gave up on it. You read, pondered, prayed, you got a spiritual spiritual witness, not a manifestation. But then you did nothing with it, and when somebody came along and gave you another spiritual witness, you threw away the old one. You never produced, and you were like a ship tossed in the sea, just like James in the first vision of Joseph Smith. You're just going from spiritual witness to spiritual witness and never coming to a knowledge of the truth. And this is not because the seed was not good, neither is it because the fruit thereof would not be desirable, but because your ground is barren. You did not nourish the tree, therefore you cannot have the fruit thereof. This is why you think you have to keep going back to church to feel the Spirit again, to get another spiritual witness. You abandon the original one that you received. And so it's like you're addicted to church, addicted to the temple, addicted to scriptures, addicted to prayer. It's because you've abandoned the seed that you've already been given. You gave up on it, and you look for more seed, rather than sticking to the one you had and making it real. If you will not nourish the word, looking forth with an eye of faith to the fruit thereof. Faith without fruit is dead. That's what works refers to. Yes, there's the action works that is necessary to nourish the word and have it grow. But there's also the completed works of fruit. You can never pluck of the fruit of the tree of life. And that we then go back to the beginning with the tree of life dream. Holding to the word of God, the iron rod, gets us to the tree of life. And how do you hold on to the iron rod? How do you plant that seed and nourish it to grow into a tree of life with fruit on it? In the introduction, Joseph Smith is recorded as having said, I told the brethren that the Book of Mormon is the most correct of any book on the earth, and that a man shall draw nearer to God by abiding by its precepts. You have to implement the word in your life. Many of Mormons wrote prayers. We pray that we may apply the lessons we learn today into our daily lives. For Sunday school and whatever. This is what is supposed to have been done. So this is our faith process in Mormonism. It's science-based. It's designed to take you from a spiritual realm into the physical reality. That you no longer live by faith alone. Now you live by knowledge, and through that you gain wisdom. And so, examples. The Bible and Hebrews. To the Hebrews 11. So it talks about faith. Don't worry about trying to understand the incorrectly translated definition. Here's the examples that it gets into to explain the definition properly. By faith, Noah, being warned of God of things not seen as yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his house, by which he condemned the world, and became heir of righteousness, which is by faith. He was told by God, through the spiritual witness, build an ark, there's a flood coming. That's the story. We all know the story. He didn't just stick with the spiritual witness that a flood was coming. He acted on it. He planted that seed in his heart, believed it, and how did he show that he believed it? He built the ark. And after he had built it, sure enough, the floods came. He was prepared. He saved his family. The rest were condemned to death because they did not build an ark. They didn't believe. Now in the last days, there is a warning using that story. 36 in Matthew 24. But of that day, wrong one. But as the days of Noah were, so also the coming of the Son of Man be. For in the days that were before the flood, they were eating, drinking, marrying, and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark. Everything seemed normal. There seemed nothing out of the ordinary. There was no reason to believe there would come a flood. And the people knew not until the flood came. They were now compelled to believe it was too late. They're dead. They did not prepare. And it took them away. So also the coming of the Son of Man be. This is my warning. This is what I'm trying to help with. And I'm having to start from scratch for Mormons. But I hope that you will not resist the word of the Book of Mormon. My God, please don't ignore the Book of Mormon. It has correct principles. We're not going to get into an argument about who the original author is. Let's just focus on the precepts for right now. Because we're in the second coming, which is, and we can't be arguing about whether there's a second coming or it's the first coming and all this other stuff, because you're not ready for it yet. You have not followed the original simple precept of faith leading to a knowledge. So we're starting from scratch. Practice that in your life. You don't have much time. But if my dream is telling me to try this approach, let's try this approach. Because if you've been living by a spiritual witness your whole life, and repeatedly replacing that spiritual witness with other spiritual witnesses to reinforce your faith, you have no idea what it's like to obtain an actual knowledge of things. So, I am going on my run. I will upload this when I get back.